Harriet Jacobs' Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl is a groundbreaking story that sheds light on the inhumane realities of slavery, especially for women. It is a story of resilience, resistance, and motherhood. Harriet Jacobs' autobiography demonstrates how terrible slavery was, and how it oppressed women uniquely through violence and dehumanization. Jacobs' story immortalizes the horrors of slavery through personal testimony. Born in 1813, Harriet Jacobs spent her childhood in Edenton, North Carolina. She initially lived with some comfort until her mother died when she was just 6 years old. And to quote, I was born a slave, but I never knew it till 6 years of happy childhood had passed away. Jacobs wrote her autobiography to reveal the moral and physical horrors of slavery, particularly for women, and to awaken the conscience of Northern readers. Jacobs vividly portrays how slavery uniquely oppressed women, combining physical labor, sexual exploitation, and the constant threat of losing one's children. Within the story, Jacobs recounts her relentless harassment by Dr. Flint, her enslaver. Her refusal to submit to him was both an act of resistance and testament to her courage and resilience. Jacob's love for her children as a mother drove many of her decisions. She hid for 7 years in an attic to stay near her children, enduring unimaginable physical and emotional pain. As part of her escape plan, Jacob spent 7 years hiding in a small crawl space above her grandmother's house, unable to stand or move freely as part of her escape plan. And to quote, the air was stifling, the darkness total, yet I would have chosen this rather than my lot as a slave. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 heightened the danger for escaped slaves like Jacobs, making it easier for enslavers to capture fugitives even in free states where they were typically safe. Jacobs relied on her faith to endure the trials of slavery. Her belief in God gave her the strength to persevere through unimaginable hardships. Jacobs worked with an abolitionist named Lydia Marie Child to publish her story. Child's editing and advocacy helped Jacob's narrative reach a broader audience and help her cause. Jacob's story directly appeals to Northern women, emphasizing shared values of motherhood and morality to garner their support for abolition. Jean Fagan Yellen emphasizes the importance of Jacob's narrative in illuminating the intersection of race and gender. Her work was one of the first to foreground the exploitation of enslaved women. And for a quote from Jean Fagan Yellen's Harriet Jacobs' A Life, Harriet Jacobs' narrative remains a cornerstone in African American literary history for its pioneering account of how gendered and racial oppression intersects under slavery. Jacobs blends vivid imagery, emotional appeals, and pseudonyms to craft a narrative that is both engaging and protective of those involved in her story. Jacobs highlights the hardships of enslaved women and how their experience with motherhood is different. Under constant threat of separation from their children, she portrays a mother's sacrifice as both powerful and painful. Initially, Jacobs' work was overshadowed by works of others like Frederick Douglass. It later gained recognition during the Civil Rights Movement as an essential text of slavery. Harriet Jacobs left a profound legacy. Her narrative broke new ground by focusing on the experiences of enslaved women, shedding light on the specific cruelties of slavery she experienced. Jacob's resilience and determination demonstrate the power of resistance against oppression. Her story inspires us even today to fight for justice and equality. Even after all this time, Harriet Jacobs' story proves we can change society and acts as inspiration to fight oppression. And to end with a quote, Reader, my story ends with freedom, not in the usual way with marriage. I and my children are now free.